Good morning. We're going to be starting the oral interview of the Mosley family. So tell us your name and where do you currently live?
Which way you want to start?
You wanna start anyway?
Eddie Q. Mosley, Senior. I live in Memphis, Tennessee, 102 Dover.
Is that it? Oh, you waiting on me? Okay. Sorry, I was in another world. Katie Mosley Jones in West Memphis, Arkansas.
Christine Walls Mosley, West Memphis, Arkansas.
What was your parents' name and where were they from?
My father was a Theodore Mosley,
Roosevelt Mosley.
Theodore Roosevelt Mosley. He's from New Albany, Mississippi. Address unknown.
What was your mother's name?
Bessie Mae Mosley, Stacy.
Were they married here in New Albany?
Yeah, there
Yes.
was, yes.
What did your parents do for a living?
Farming mainly.
Did they own their own farm?
No, sharecrop.
Do you recall who they worked for?
The last I recall was Bill Meadows' farm.
Do you recall where that farm was located here?
It was located in New Albany off of Highway 30.
What year were you all born and were you born in a hospital?
February the 20th, 1935. I was not born in the hospital, I was born at home.
Were you born by a midwife?
Yes,
Do you recall what was your midwife's name?
so far back I do not recall her name.
Oh, me then? Oh, okay, yes, I was born here in New Albany. And I think we moved from here, I probably was a good year old, so I didn't know anything about anything. But I know that I was born naturally because my mother, you know, if it was a midwife around, she probably used her when I was born. Mm-hmm.
You got the year.
On Highway 30.
On Highway 30 is the same
Same place.
dwelling that I was.
Okay, okay.
My name is Christine Walls. My mother's name was Bessie Mae Stacy Mosley. And I was born January 23rd, 1944. And my father's name was Theodore Mosley Jr., Senior. And as far as I can remember, I've heard a lot about it. I was too young when we moved from here. I think I was about 4 years old, so I really don't know too much about down here, but from traveling back forward and what my father used to tell us about the stories and stuff that used to happen down here with them. And my mother, I think she said she had a midwife or something when we was born, but I really don't know. And my brain is kind of, I'm 80 years old now, so I can't remember too far back. But what I remember, I tried to keep up with what they were saying and everything, but they had a pretty good time down here, I think, and with his other siblings and around, and my mother's sisters and her mother was living down here too, so they were having a close-knit family, and I don't know what the midwife name or nothing, but maybe it might have been one of her sisters or her mother, you know, back in those days, whoever knew what to do would do it, you know, but I don't know what happened back there, but I'm glad whoever did what it was, I'm here, so I'm glad of that.
So now, how are you all related?
Sisters
Sisters
and
and
brothers.
brothers.
A brother and sister.
Yes. How many? How many siblings were they?
Oh, it was 10 of us.
10 in all.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell us their names?
Okay, start from the top. Mary, and Mary didn't have a middle name, did she?
No.
Okay, Mary, and then Helen, and then it skipped to Jim.
Theodore Mosley Jr.
Mm-hmm. Cliff,
Cleo Clifton.
Cleo Clifton, and then Eddie
No.
Whitman.
You Miss Helen, didn't you?
No, I called
Oh, you
her.
got Helen.
Mhm.
Okay, it's so many of you. Get to have to backtrack sometimes.
That's the reason I was pausing some, because I had to
Okay.
remember some of them. Okay, we talking, but we got to keep
Okay.
going.
So a total of 10 siblings.
Mhm.
And Mr. Eddie,
I was number 5.
you're number 5.
And we go from there to Maddie.
Mhm.
And from
Maddie
Maddie to
Lubera.
Retha. And from Retha to Margaret.
Mhm.
And from Margaret to Christine.
That's me.
From Christine to Katie,
Yes.
which was the
This one.
final one.
I'm number 10.
And are you all the only 3 that is living from your siblings?
Yes.
Yes.
What a bless.
Mhm.
Tell us about the community that you grew up in.
Well, I'll tell you first, cause when my parents moved from here, from New Albany, then they moved to Marion, Arkansas. And like I said, I was just about 1 year old. And we lived out there on the gravel road, had cotton all around the front and all around the side and stuff, and had a great big half river behind us. So, that's about all I can remember, cause I was very young, but I know when I turned, probably about 4 or 5, we moved from there to West Memphis, Arkansas. And time we got there, my mother put me in school, so I had to be 6, cause I didn't wanna go. But I had to go on, and from then on, it's just, just the everyday thing.
You go next, 'cause I'm gonna be a little short and long.
Oh, you can go ahead, cause I'm trying to think of something.
Well, as far as as I can recall, my father, he moved us to 4 locations while we're here in New Albany. The first location was out next to Beaver Dam Church, out on that area. And we moved from there to Holly Springs, north of Holly Springs, up on the hill. And from there we moved out near, west of Holly Springs, you might say. And we moved out on a farm out there where we had a large farm. We had what they call a sugar cane farm. And we made our own molasses, which was called syrup at this day and age, but we call it molasses. And then from that location, we moved downtown to the final location off of 30 Highway. And that's where we left and went to West Memphis, Arkansas. You said the locations. We had a good relationship with the surrounding peoples everywhere we went. I cannot recall any disturbance or anything between the families.
Mm-hmm.
Everything. And I base it on my father and my mother and our upbringing. My father and my mother could well, they could get along with anybody.
Mhm.
They were just that kind of people.
Mhm. And my mother would tear you down if you made a bad impression to somebody else. She brought us up that way, to have respect for ourselves. Yeah, so we were scared of that whooping now, so we did act good. Mhm.
So you mentioned about Beaver Dam Church.
Yeah.
Tell us what you remember about Beaver Dam.
Well, Beaver Dam is a new rendition now. At this time, it was not the original Beaver Dam. It was a wooden church. And we used to go from this final destination that we moved. We used to go from there out there to church. Now, my two brothers and I, we were going out on the Mona's bench, they called it back then. We would walk out there, we'd get on the bench, and we would walk home. To tell you that, the second night, one of my brothers got off the bench. The third night, the other one got off. And I was sitting there alone. And not knowing, understanding, I said, well, now I've got to walk out here by myself. So I got up. So that is a start of my understanding. After I got older, I went back and done it right. So that was a occasion that brought me further.
Do you remember who the pastor was at that time?
No, I really don't, not that time, because I was young and I didn't know too many names. I knew people, I knew faces, excuse me. But the names today is just hard to remember, because the name can be forgotten, but the image lasts forever.
Do you all recall a Reverend A.J. Mosley that was the former pastor of Beaver Dam?
The former, the
Reverend A.J. Mosley?
not long deceased. That was one of my favorite uncles. That was my uncle, because everybody knew him as Bull. AJ was very rarely mentioned in his name, but we called him Bud.
Is there anything in particular that you remember about Reverend A.J. Mosley?
Yes, I do. He's one of the sweetest men that I ever known, because he had the Mosley name, and the Mosley's name represent who carried that name, and they carried with respect, love, and decision. So, just about all I can say about him. He just was a perfect man.
What I remember about him, that first time I seen him, I thought my father and him, and what my other uncle name, there were three of them.
Joe.
Uncle Joe. They all look like triplets. So one might be a little bit taller than the other, but they all look alike. And then when I met my other cousins, they all look like we did. So I was wondering, I said, now, why are these people looking like us sitting up here? And that's when I realized that he was my uncle. But I didn't know him, too well, because he passed a little bit before I really got to know, be around them that much.
Well, when I got to meet him, we had came here, and my daddy, he was with us at that time. And when I walked in the door, I always wanted to follow my father everywhere he went. So when we came here, and we went to his house, and we walked in the door, and time I got in there good, he stopped and looked at me, and he said, "That's the one that's supposed to see spirits." He said it's because she was born with a veil over her head. So he said that made me, say I wouldn't be afraid of dead people or anything. He's right about it. Because every person that I know, if I go to their funeral or their wake, I have to put my hand on them. Have to put my hand on them because it don't, they don't scare me like some people. And I've been that way all my life. I've never been afraid of dead people. I don't know what this thing about me putting my hands on, but it just be on me, and I have to do it. I can't rest until I do it for some strange reason. But he told Daddy that, and back, when he was young and Daddy was young, when he first saw me, and I think I was around about 13, I guess about 12 or 13 years old. And he said, "I'm supposed to see spirits." I think he put a curse on me.
Oh, you mentioned about Beaver Dam. Beaver Dam was Pumpkin Center at that time. And there was an area location, but it was not Beaver Dam back then. It was called Pumpkin Center. So that's kind of got away from me at that time.
So let's talk about school. What school do you recall attending?
None for me out here.
Like I say, I went to the Union County training that you explained to me what become of it. I was real small, and I don't remember anybody going out there out of the family but me. And I can't really explain why, but I used to walk out from my last domain down there. I used to walk them down there to this church, to this building. Well, I told you that was a teacher, and I just got a thrill of walking up there by myself and going to school and walking back, because there was something about Miss May Bramley that was interesting. And my young age, I would get up and walk by myself. My mama or my daddy didn't ask me to go. They didn't tell me to go. They didn't force me. It was just something about going up there. And I'm glad I did.
So you mentioned that you went to Union County Training School.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us about the building in which you went to school in.
Well, it was just a big frame house, what it was at this time. It was kind of a oblong shape, sitting up on a hill, and it had a driveway. Now, our teacher, May Bramley, she had a vehicle, some kind of old kind of car, but it wouldn't start. So what I remember, she would always park up on that hill, and she would make sure that all of our students was out of the way, and she would let it roll down that hill to crank. And we asked her how did she crank it at home, but she never would tell me. So it was interesting that at this time, she was driving a vehicle. There wasn't nobody else that I knew had one.
Can you tell us about what year this was that you remember going to school at Union County Training School?
That was, let's see, we left here in 1948. It was about 45. Now, well, between 44 and 45, because we know that the World War was going on at 42,
Which war was this?
World War II. And it was right after World War II had closed down. That's when I was going up there. Because the time it was going on, we was kind of afraid, to go out. Because airplanes was flying around and sirens going off and all that, But it had to be when that kind of deceased, because I wouldn't have been walking by myself to school and back. So,
Do you recall who the principal was of the school?
no, I didn't know nobody there but our teacher, May Brown. That's who I was going to see, and that's who I learned about.
Who were some of your classmates or friends that you recall?
Well, at that time, I really didn't have time to make friends. I was just going to school, because the time that I got there, we were busy in class. And when we turned out, I had to hurry back home because I was by myself. So just making friends at the school was just not in my program.
So tell us about some of the chores that you did at home. It was 10 of you all.
Oh my goodness. How much time have you got? Our main chores, well, we had wood stove, wood heating, so forth. My mother, she was a fisherman. I had to dig baits. My father, he was a farmer. I even plowed behind the mule when we had the farm, It's my small age, At that age, how tall do you think I was back there when you look at me now?
About the same size.
So I could get out there and ply the mule just like my brothers or my father. One incident, Mr. Bill Meadows, he gave me a big old horse. I named him Billy. And one day I was plying old Billy in the corn. The corn was so high till you couldn't see nothing but the horse. So Bill Meadows came down and he told my father, he said, Shoke, they called him then. I'm talking about Theodore Mosley. He said, Shoke, that boy's horse is out there in the corn. And Daddy said, yeah, I know, just wait till he get to the end. So when he got to the end, he could see me behind the plow. So that's one of the, that's a lot of the enjoyments that I had back then. Yeah.
So ladies, what are some of the things you all remember as chores?
I remember milking the cows. We had cows, and I had to go out and milk them cows. And we had to milk cows, and I hated it because, especially after it rained and the cow switched its tail back and hit me one time in the face with it, and I just hauled off and hit it with the bucket of milk. But I got a whooping for that, but it hurt. And they be flying, doing that for the flies, but he hit me right across the face with her tail, and I had to get her back. I had to get the car back, and then we had to feed the chickens. And then if mother tell us to go out and kill a chicken, we had to go out and wring the chicken's neck and come back and pluck it while she could cook it. We had a whole lot of different things they had to do with it. And the most thing I hated to do was wash dishes. I hate that right now, to wash the dishes. Because one time I was washing dishes and my sister Margaret would always, I don't know why, that she would always come behind me and see what I hadn't did and run and tell mother about it.
Tell mother, yep.
But I was kind of upset that day, so I just washed the front of the dishes and put them up. And she come in and told my mother, Chris ain't clean them dishes. She got the front of the plate is clean, but the bottom ain't clean. And I turned around and told her, I said, well, you don't eat off the bottom of the dishes, you eat off the bottom. So I got another whooping for that. So it's a lot of chores we used to have to do. Had to go out and pick, my daddy would cut the wood, we had to bring it in and put it in there for the stove and the heating of the house. And one time we had to go over to, I followed him, had to go over the levee, and he cut down some trees, so I helped him bring them back to the house. Me and Katie had following him, so he put us to work, and we drew up some trees from over the levee where he could cut them up and put them in the fireplace. Okay, Katie, your turn.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to do too much anything because my sister Chris and Margaret, they were some bad kids, so I didn't have anybody else to run with, you know, so I would stay back some and see them get the whooping and everything. I didn't want to get no whooping, but Chris used to do some stuff, Margaret used to do some stuff, and they knew that it wasn't right. But then one would get jealous and tell mother, then there come another one telling mother, so both of them mother would make them go and get their own switch that they gonna get whipped by. And if they got it too small, come and she'll wear that out on them and tell them to go get another. And I said, I'm not getting in that. So, but then my mother got to a point where she knew I wasn't gonna do anything. I was just, just like at a wrestling or something, you got to have somebody hollering for you. Even though I knew they were gonna get a good whooping, but it just every time you turn around, one was in trouble and everything. But other than that, everything was all right. When it came to the cows, my daddy had two of them, and he would take it and see in West Memphis. It's next to the railroad track. It's a long levee that goes from West Memphis all the way over to Memphis, and he got why he wanted to walk the cows away. He'd get up early in the morning, take those cows way down there almost to Memphis on the levee, because the grass was growing good, and they could just stand around and eat and everything. He would have a chain and hook them up and everything. But then in the evening, when he got ready to go get him, and I made a mistake, I said, Daddy, can we go with you? He said, yeah, come on. So we followed him, and it seemed like we wasn't gonna ever get to those cows. But when he got down there, he would unhook them, give him a little tap on the behind. He said, go home. They would take him, come straight on home. When they got down to where the road was to go home, they'd make that turn. We were way behind, trying to keep up with them. They'd make that turn and go right down there on 21st Street where the house was. And we used to do that every day. I got so sick of it. And then we had to, when I got old enough, my mother would make us go out there and milk the cows. And I hated that too. Because when you sit down and you milk them, you have to push them to make them do that leg back so you can get to the big titties down there. Well, I call them titties. Anyway, we would get down there and I was milking. The cow kept looking at. She kept looking at me like she knew I was gonna do something I had no business. So I guess she got ready for it. And when I pushed on it, you had to push on the back, and they just automatically stepped back. And I looked, and it looked so clean on her up under there. And I looked, and I was gonna pet her. I put my hand up there to pet her. She whack with her tail and knocked me over. I spilled the milk and everything. But see, my mother was she was kind of going blind then. So I happened to, when I got the bucket up, there was a little bit of milk in there. So I went on in there. I said, Mother, I'm through. Went in there, fill the rest of it up with water. And set it in there. And that was my way of getting around on that. But I learned the lesson. I learned not to mess with them cows anymore. But it was something back in those days. I like this
So
thing.
going back to living here in New Albany, do you recall any black-owned businesses?
The only black-owned business I remember was a Wade Irish club down here. He had a nightclub, and my father used to come down there, and my little self, I would follow my father down there. So he's the only black, fully owned that I remember back in that day.
So what other businesses do you recall going to when you lived here in New Albany?
Business owners,
Mm-hmm.
well, really, I didn't have too much dealing with business owners, because, like I said, I was farmer. I followed my daddy in farm. My daddy, he was employed by Bill Meadows also, implement company. Bill Meadows sold farm equipment, and Daddy was farming and working on that too. He could assemble the equipment together with the small knowledge that he knew or that he had. But he had such a, I would say, input on what he was doing. He didn't have no paperwork, no kind of nothing like that. And I would follow him and watch him to assemble those parts. And today, I still have a business doing the same thing by watching him. Because I watched him, and when Christmas time come, me as a young boy, somehow the parents realized that what I could do. They would bring kids' toys to me to assemble them at my little young age. So I remember a friend of mine, well, a friend for the company, not the company, for the friend of the family. He bought a new bicycle, and he had an old bicycle frame. He gave me the frame, nothing but the frame. And somehow I got parts. I get big them. I didn't have no money to buy them. I had big it, and before you knew it, I had the best built bicycle of the neighborhood by watching my father. So that's about the only, thing that I really enjoyed doing.
What is the name of your business?
My business is repair service.
And that is located?
And well, it's located in Memphis, but I had branched out. I had customers all the way from Nashville, all the way through Mississippi, Arkansas. At one time, I had 86 customers that I would go to and do the work. It kept me on the highway. But now I'm trying to retire, but I got 6 customers now that just will not let me quit. So I'm gonna have to just tell them that I'm through.
So you mentioned about Beaver Dam Church.
Mhm.
There is a church that was here in Union County called Mosley Chapel or
Mhm.
Mosley Church.
Right.
Do you recall that church?
That was the one I was talking about. We call it, what did I say? What did I say the name? A few
Beaver
minutes ago?
Dam?
No,
or Mosley
Beaver Dam
Chapel?
is the new one.
Okay.
Mosley Chapel is the old one. I said, you just got, I was talking about something else, but that got away from me. But I called the name a few minutes ago. Yeah. Pumpkin Center. It was Pumpkin Center and it turned to Mosley Chapel. And now Beaver Dam.
Do you have family members that were members at Mosley Chapel?
Well, my family, my father, my mother, that's how they got us out there. Because me, my two brothers, my mother and my father, and I think we were the only one that was going at that time, because the rest of them were too small.
You mentioned about the war. Were you in the military or any family members that you recall being in the military?
Well, I had a Uncle Buck, they called it, Eliezer. You know him. You don't know Uncle Buck? Okay. Well, he was drafted, and he spent time over there. I think he spent a year over there, but he was wounded in the war. So he told us about how he was, a shell fell close to him and covered him up, but he was, someone had guided him, and he came home fully, you know. So that's the only one that I knew that visited, because I heard about a lot of them that's being up for draft, but not too many of them were called at that time.
So, in your younger years, when you were sick, do you recall going to a local doctor? And if so, do you recall that local doctor's names? Or let's
Well-
talk about home remedies as well.
Well, our doctor was my mama.
Mm-hmm.
Mama was the only doctor that I've ever been under in my whole life. I sit here right now, I don't have any medication. I got a little cough, but that's just from this weather change. But I have never been hospitalized in 89 years, because I learned the remedies from my mama, and I learned how to do and not how not to do from my father. So I sit here, I can't say sickly free, but I'm free from sick.
Tell us about some of those home remedies.
Oh, Lord.
I remember one she had that she would have something, my father would go, he'd tell him to go out and it's a certain tree, and he had to dig down and get a root. And she would take that root
And boil it.
and sometimes she'd boil it, and then when she boiled it, we had to drink the juice off of it, and then she put the root up and let it dry. And you could come in there and tell us, "Mom, I got a stomach ache." She'd go in there and pinch off a little piece of that root and have you to chew it up and swallow it. And your stomach ache would leave.
Mm-hmm.
And she would used to go and dig up a whole lot of different stuff out of the ground and make medicine out of it.
Sassafras.
Mm-hmm. Sassafras tea and all that kind of stuff. What's that?
Say the name of that again.
Sassafras tea.
Sassafras.
Sassafras.
And then they used to make something called a cow pie tea.
Yeah.
She don't wanna hear that.
You don't wanna
You don't wanna hear that
part.
part,
No,
do
she
you?
don't wanna hear that.
Yes, she do. She says she wanna hear it. I'm gonna tell you. You would go out and get the cow pies, you know, the cow manure, and let it dry, and then they take it and wrap it up in a towel, put in some water and boil it like a tea. Put some sugar in it, and they would drink it. And that was for colds and different stuff. And they would bring all the cold and stuff out of it. So it was a whole lot of different remedies, home remedies.
And castor oil.
Oh Lord, don't do that.
And-
Castor oil.
And Vic salve. She take Vic salve, get you a hot towel, and put the Vic salve on a hot towel and put it on it,
Mm-hmm.
and you wouldn't need no doctor.
Mm-mm. They couldn't play sick once my mother got through with it. They had to get up and do that work, whatever she tell you to do.
She made sure you didn't get sick.
Mm-hmm.
And every spring, come in, we had to line up. So,
Mhm.
all right, come on, line up. She had this big bottle of castor oil. I guess that's why I can take castor oil now, just heat it up and drink it, because we took so much of it. And everybody would have to take a big dose of castor oil every spring, fall, whatever,
Fall,
every fall. And nobody was sick that winter.
Everybody needs a mama like I had.
Yep.
They tried to, especially my sister, they tried to play sick, but mother knew better. Knew they wasn't sick, cause she had prepared the way for that winter, you know. Mm-hmm.
Well, anyway, she could look at you and tell what was wrong with you.
Mm-hmm.
That was how close, you know. A lot of people nowadays don't take enough interest in the kids, because when you can tell the change of a kid, and you can, if you monitor him enough, you know what's wrong with him. Now, I talk about my father taking after him, watching him. I guess I watched him too much, because he had 10 children. I had 7. And none of my children were sick until they went out on their own. They would go to school. They never missed no schooling by being sick, simply because I took care of them. So, when you're on your own, you do what you do. But when you're under me, you do what I do. It works.
So let's talk music. Do any of you play any type of instrument?
No, we sung. Now my brother, all the boys played instruments,
Okay.
but the sisters, we sung the songs, you know. And see, my mother, she used to, when she got down kind of sick, she would lay in the bed, and this one would come over. Every time he come, he go straight to the piano, start playing it. And then my other brother, the oldest one, he would pick up a guitar and play. And the next thing we know, mother tell us, y'all go in there and sing. So that's mostly all what the girls did was sing. And she'd be in another room, and she said, somebody ain't singing right, y'all. All y'all in the same tune. You got to break it up. And so that's how we knew how to get in our own tune to harmonize it, you know, through her. And she was something. She could lay in that bed and listen. She said, somebody ain't singing right, you know. So we had to get it together. Mm-hmm. But it helped in the long run. That's the reason we, you know, the girls, we in church, we sing in the choir. The brother, he's in church, he plays for the choir. So it was a blessing for her to have all those kids and be able, we still come out doing pretty good and learning the right way to go. Mm-hmm.
I've been a musician in my church now for 39 years. I started with just me on the piano, and I had a young man that wanted to be under me like I wanted to be under my father. So right now, he's the greatest musician in West Memphis. He plays for the church every Sunday, and he always has some other church already got him on schedule after my church turns out. He gone to another one. So, train a child in the way that he should go.
And because of that, my father and my uncles, they had a band together. My father played fiddle, and my uncles, and they played something else. They played, but anyway, they used to travel around and play in the little juke joint, as they call them. And my father, he would get out and dance. He was dance. He loved to dance. So we got most of our things from them. And my mother, she was a singer, so her and her sister and them used to sing, I think, in the choir. So that's where we got our singing from her.
So you all have a connection here in New Albany, Mississippi, a musician. Tell us about who that musician is.
Oh, that's our
Yes.
first cousin, Sam. Sam Mosley, yeah. Sam is, he's one of the best musicians, one of the guitar players. Well, he got that from his daddy too, you know. His daddy was with my father when they was in their band together. So we were first cousins. And our father was his brother, his father's brother, you know. And he was in the band with my father and them. So that's why he got his start from there. And he's been all over the world just about playing his guitar, and he's writing songs and everything. So he's got the music in his blood. Yeah.
Well, is there any questions or anything that you all would like to leave as your last comment or statement today?
Well, I'll go first. First of all, I enjoyed this, you know,
Yeah.
because by us talking about our background and everything, and like my brother here, I learned some of the things back, because when he was out there doing things and all that, I was just a little baby. So I really didn't get a chance to go anywhere and do anything unless my mother was with me. And Chris the same way, since we was the last one of 10, you know. And about all I can remember is that I knew we had to stay out there until I turned 6, because time we moved in West Memphis, my mother put me right in school, and then Monday came, I was there at school, and I hated it too. But anyway, I had to be 6 years old, but just about everything I learned as far as music and as far as, you know, singing and harmonizing and things like that, I learned it from my brothers, you know. Because Eddie, like I said, he wouldn't come in the house. He would speak and keep straight to that piano. And he'll start playing, and we get in there, we start singing, and then when we get to a break and we stop, we would look outside. You could hear people talking. We would look outside. We have a yard full of people standing out there listening to us. And we was having fun, but I guess they saw a lot more in us, you know, and everything. So we had pretty good memories about things like that. Yeah, so.
Ms. Christine?
The most thing that I'm really proud of being a Mosley about is the love that we have for each other. And
Yeah.
respect.
Mm-hmm.
And, you can't live in the world not liking your brother or your sister, and it's really sad because I was working with a lady one time and she told me, say, her and her sister fell out about some money and they hadn't spoken 12 years and they lived 2 streets apart. And it really hurt me because my family has really been close.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, now our sister Margaret, she was something else. But anyway, if you gonna get mad about at someone, Margaret was the one. You know, she seemed like she was just a little different from us. And my brother Jim, the oldest brother, he said the reason she acted the way she said, cause when she was younger, said they used to. Well, I know they did all of us like they would catch you and swing you from one to the other. Only they would catch you by your leg and your feet and swing it, and then throw you over there, and the other brother over there catch you. You know, just like we would be in a circus or something. You know, but that was their way of playing with us. Me and Chris, we loved it.
Yeah.
But Jim said her brain shook a little bit when they threw her. So, so I don't know if it was true or not. But she was the only one out of our 10 and out of the 7 girls that she couldn't really get along with her sisters. And I never figured that out why. Because we tried to do everything to get along with her, but she just had a mean streak in her. Mm-hmm. But Chris and I, we didn't let her get by with it because we'd get her back the things she did, you know, to us. Her and Chris never could get along. But we had a nice family. We was good to each other and loved each other. We was always there if one needed something. You know, we tried to gather together and work it out. Cause that's the way my mother and father was. They was a really close, and I'd say they really loved each other. They had to have 10 kids, you know. So, but my mother, she would always try to think of some way. And she'd tell my other sisters, you know, you do this or do that to help your daddy, Even when she lost her eyesight, she would always tell us to do this or that so it would help your daddy, you know. So I was always thankful for that. When I got old enough to get in my family, I raised my 2 girls and a son. I raised them in a way that I got taught from my mother just by watching her. You know, and listen to the things the way she taught us. I never did get them 2 or 3 switches for them, but like she used to do Chris now. I wasn't around for that. I'd go stay away from them. I didn't want to get that. Mm-hmm.
The only thing I can say is that I cherish the name Mosley.
Mm-hmm.
I'm proud to be a Mosley.
Mm-hmm.
But remember that names change, names are easily forgotten.
Mm-hmm.
But how you represent that name down through the years
Mm-hmm.
will spring up again somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Never forgotten. So people can say, yeah, that's a Mosley.
Mm-hmm.
People can say, that's one of them old Mosleys. Which one would you prefer?
The first one. Mm-hmm.
Try to make it mean something.
Mm.
Because if the name doesn't mean anything, you don't mean anything.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
And neither one of them have accomplished anything.
Mm-hmm. But the way we were brought up, you know, we were brought up to the way my mother used to say, think a lot of yourself.
Mm.
And then the way you act, you can carry it on so everybody else will think a lot of you. You know, it's just a certain way you deal with different problems. You know, you can go get mad, get angry at everyone, or you can sit back and say your prayers and wait on the Lord to straighten you out. You know, so that's the way she taught us things like that. So
In
And
other words, you be straight before you straighten anybody else, right?
Because how can you straighten someone else when you messed up?
Okay.
I cut this thing out. I'm
Well,
sorry
thank you
about
all
this,
so much for today's interview.